Alright, today I want to talk about this myth that the color spectrum of a light is what makes a plant flower. This isn't true. Color spectrum is absolutely important when you're growing plants in an artificial environment, but that spectrum doesn't have anything to do with whether the plant is going to flower or not. The determining factor in that is your lighting schedule. Some plants require more light to flower. Some plants require less light to flower. Some plants don't care at all. Like my Haworthia, they flower all year long regardless when they're under my lights or when they're in a window or whatever the case is. They flower all year long. So that's what's going to determine whether a plant flowers or not, is if you have the appropriate lighting schedule for that plant. So it doesn't matter if you have a light that has more red in it and you think that's going to trigger the flowering of that plant. It's not going to happen. You can have a very red light like an HPS, but you could have that light on for 18 hours a day and off for 6 hours a day, and that plant could require 12 on, 12 off. If you don't switch that lighting schedule, that plant's not going to flower regardless of the bulb or not. Now, maybe as an emergency evolutionary thing within that plant, if you keep that lighting schedule on forever and ever, maybe it will eventually flower so it can produce seeds because it's freaking out. But in a general situation, that plant's not going to flower. You can flower a plant under any kind of light. You can flower it under a metal halide, which is more blue, or an HPS. It doesn't matter at all as long as the lighting schedule is correct. I can't stress this enough. I see people freaking out about it all the time. They're worried that their succulents aren't going to flower if they don't have just the right color spectrum, and do they need to switch bulbs when they flower? And no, they don't. Now, are you going to get better flowers, prettier flowers? I don't know, maybe not prettier, but more flowering sites if you have a more red light? Maybe. But are you really going to notice the difference? Probably not. You can just stick to, again, if you're using a metal halide, you can use the metal halide for the entire growing cycle. They're going to look just fine. Right now I have a 4000K LED, which is similar to metal halide light, and my plants look absolutely fine. So as you can see, they're doing pretty good under this light. They need watered, but I would say that they're enjoying their new light. The main reason color spectrum matters when we're talking about flowering plants or vegetative plants is that some lights are more appropriate for different stages of growth, especially if you're trying to maximize certain qualities of plants. Let's say you're trying to maximize your yield of tomatoes and you want to get as many tomatoes as possible. If you're going to really be a freak about it, then you want to use a metal halide to grow that plant in the vegetative state so you can maximize the flowering sites of that plant, because you're going to have a plant that's more stacked, that's a fuller plant. So when you have a fuller plant, you're obviously going to have more sites for those tomato flowers to form. And once those flowers are forming and the fruit starts going, you probably want to switch to a more red light, like an HPS. So if you switch to the HPS, it's more appropriate at making more robust fruit. So you're going to have a bigger yield. Again though, you don't have to switch bulbs. If you just want to grow some tomatoes at home and all you have is a metal halide light, you can use just that light. You don't have to switch bulbs. As long as the lighting schedule's on point and all your other growing factors are on point, you have a nice harvest of tomatoes. Alright, I could go on and on this topic and just really go down the rabbit hole on it. I'm sure there's stuff I didn't talk about, more things to cover, but I think this is a good place to stop. So if you enjoyed this video, it'd be fantastic if you hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you'd like. Thanks for watching, and you have the best day possible.